need to get the board. All right, I'm going to get this wrong, so you're going to have to... Oh, it's all over the place. I put it down. Sorry. You have got the longest name. I think it goes all the way across the bottom. I need to zoom out to get that in. So how would... Right. That's not even the right way, is it? Does that look about right?
It looks perfect.
Now I'm going to go with the English pronunciation, which is going to be really bad, and that'll be Ásgeir, but clearly it isn't because it's Icelandic. And I would say Gunnarsson, but that might be. So how would you pronounce? What's the proper way of saying it?
Ásgeir.
Ásgeir.
Yeah. So that's it's a rolling R in the end and ow, the first letter. Ow. But it was actually very good what he did there. But the Gunnarsson is the right one. You did that one right.
Yeah, I think that's easier for the... well, I mean, I'm terrible with languages and accents, so that's easier from my point of view. And obviously we have the clapperboard. There we go. Now, what people... Right. I'm going to let you into a secret. What people don't notice is I put your name at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I also changed the name of the director.
Okay.
So for those who are kind of like really into it, they can go back and look at sort of how I've changed it.
Secret message.
Yeah. There are subliminal messages all the way through. Subliminal messages all the way through. So how have you been? I haven't seen you for.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. It would be a sequel bits or a sequel Saturday.
Sequel bits probably, or a sequel Saturday it might be as well. So I'm good. I'm very good. I'm just at home in Iceland, and there's not a lot of places. I've actually been on a plane once in the last month, which was interesting. So, but otherwise than that, you're just working from home and doing the same as everyone else. To looking nice for my family and myself. So
where did you go?
I went to Denmark. So they opened the border in Denmark. They opened the border to Germany, Iceland, and Norway. So we can go there now if we want. So from odd reason, you have to stay for at least 6 nights. And you have to document that you can stay, that you're going to stay for 6 nights, and then you can come in and as a tourist. So with our family, we are moving to Denmark. So we were going to be moving to Denmark before that, and then the coronavirus or COVID happened. So I went to look at houses. That's what I went to the first plane that was allowed into Denmark from Iceland.
So you're on a big adventure. Not only you've got a new member in your family. You were telling me before you've got a 2-week-old.
Yeah, 2 weeks old. She's 15 days today. Have we got
to be quiet? She's asleep.
It's okay. She's in another room.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah. So you're moving to Denmark. Is that a work move, or is that just a kind of change?
Well, my wife is Danish. So we are moving to be closer to her family now, especially now that we have our third child, our small baby. I do travel a bit, so it's going to be nicer for her to be closer to family, and also a bit work related as well. It's easier for me to get to places from Denmark right, rather than Iceland. Iceland is it can be a bit expensive to go anywhere from Iceland.
So I know very little. I'm not going to draw attention to your top. People can put in the see who's on. We've got someone on Facebook watching. That's probably my mum. Another one just joined on Facebook. Can't see anyone on YouTube yet, but if anyone wants to know why you're wearing a Liverpool top, we'll let people ask on Facebook because they can ask questions and we can see stuff pop up. Actually, I haven't got my phone ready, so to say if I got the little alert to say that we are live. So I know very little about Iceland apart from the stereotypical stuff of it's very expensive because stuff has to be shipped there because a lot of stuff doesn't grow in Iceland. You've got lots of volcanoes. And you've got an amazing football team because they must be because they beat the English team.
Yeah.
The story was it was a part-time football team in Iceland, full of part-time players that beat the English team. So, and I think you were saying it's not quite true.
No, so I would probably say 80% of them were full-time professional playing abroad. But a lot of them are playing in Scandinavia and in smaller leagues. So there are one in the Premier League and couple in the Italian Serie A, but most of them are in smaller divisions or playing in Iceland. And those are playing in Iceland, and many of them are part-time players, part-time football players.
I haven't asked you what you're drinking. It's the whole point of the show is.
I'm drinking tea. I don't drink coffee, so I'm drinking tea.
Just looking at that's a Douglas Adams type. That's mug.
That's from Sequel Saturday Cambridge. There was a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy theme in 2017, perhaps.
I must have missed that one. Unless that was a speaker gift and I went to it and I wasn't speaking, so I didn't get anything.
Yeah, it was a speaker gift. So.
Oh, okay, all right. I mean, I should have had words with Mark to make sure that I got something.
Yeah,
he's only 60 miles away from here. I mean, now that I can legitimately drive, I could go over. I can't socialise. No, sorry, I can't go over and
shout outside of the house. Shout at the
house. Oh, that would be fun. Just for the pure heck of it. Why didn't I get a mug? And then drive all the way back. That'd be well worth a 2-hour round trip.
Have you got water?
I've just got some squash in my. Can't really see that. It's a Sequel Sentry.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the other night I had Kevin on. So this is also this is a previous name for Sequel Sentry. They're Sentry 1 now, aren't they?
Yeah, that is true. They're Sentry 1.
So tell me about the virus and how it's been affecting you in Iceland.
Well, it of course came to Iceland as every other country. Iceland decided to, the approach the Icelanders did was to close down the borders mostly, didn't close them completely down, but mostly, and control access, of course. And then just test everyone who wanted to be tested. And, so they both did just test everyone who asked for to be tested, and then they also randomly asked people to come to test so they could figure out what kind of how much infection was in the society. And then they had a big team of health officials and police do contact tracing. So if you got infected, they tried to trace every move you made, and they actually managed to fairly quickly get a control over it. But of course, it still lasted for a while. But now we haven't had anyone tested positive, within the borders. So we have had people come because we have opened the borders now. We've had a couple of people come from abroad and then infected a few people, but we haven't had an internal infection for a few weeks now. So it's going pretty well. I like the approach they did. They just all this contact tracing and just making sure that they quarantine a lot of people, and they the infection rate got under 1 very, very fast. So it's actually been, and we never had really a complete lockdown here in Iceland. So you could always go out whole way through this, but there were the 2-meter rule, and all these of course wash hands, and the stores had a grocery stores and other so we closed down barber shops and small stores, but grocery stores and stuff like that was open, and then you just had to follow the guidelines, and that was maybe for a month. The smaller stores were closed, and then they could open up again. So all in all, compared to everyone else, but we still have had 10 deaths in Iceland. So it wasn't perfect, but it's probably better than many other countries. But we are a very small country, so it's easier in a way to do it like this because, but of course, we have fewer resources. But so in theory, even though you're smaller, you shouldn't be better at it.
Yeah.
You could just, the bigger nation has more equipment and then a bigger budget. So yeah, it's been going pretty good.
From the stuff that I've read and looked at, it seems to be how quickly you started the locking down and the contact tracing that seems to make the harder you were and you sorted it out in the beginning, then kind of it's easier to control it then. If you then let it get out of control, then it's incredibly hard to stop it because so many people have got it.
It's really hard to reel it back in, when it's out there because each person is so easily infect so many. So it's the exponential impact, which is so hard to get back when many people have it. Yeah, we started really early, and they started testing, and of course it's free to get tested, and everyone could get tested from the start. You just ask for it, and you could get tested. There is a genealogical company here in Iceland that's doing a lot of research in the gene area, and they offered their facilities to also do testing, so they could actually do thousands of tests a day, while the state could only do something like 500. So they managed to get a lot of people through it by doing that. And so now, for example, also if you come to Iceland now, you get tested at the border. Everyone gets tested. Unless you you can opt in for 2 weeks quarantine, but nobody does that. It costs something £80 or something to be tested at the border, and then you get the answer at the same day, or if you come late, you get it the next morning. So we should try to do it properly, but again, because it's not a lot of people, and it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, but you can see kind of the model that you've got and then see how that works in other places. So kind of smaller airports in the UK could probably do something very, very similar because they're not dealing with thousands of people every hour. It would be a whole different kettle of fish if you did it in Heathrow, but I think
Heathrow is a huge airport. In theory, you're supposed to be able to do it there as well. You just, you would have just many more places where you would do it, but you would need a lot of staff, and you would need a lot of testing equipment and all that. So it gets harder, but it definitely can be done. But I think the main thing is the tracing at the airports that they're doing now hasn't really it hasn't caught a lot of people because people are generally not traveling, and those who are traveling so we're getting something like 2,000 people a day to Iceland, and those are people don't travel when they're sick. There's nobody trying to. So there's been like 2 or 3 people that have actually had COVID at the airport. When they mentioned them at the airport, and both of them were people living here that had been abroad and locked it up in ended up being abroad and couldn't come home for a while, and then they came home and then they had it. So it's not necessary to do that, but if people get sick, test them really quickly and contact trace them. That seems to be the one that works best. But again, it's hard, like in your country, to start stopping the flood.
Well, I mean, they stopped all the people coming in, but there weren't significant amounts of tests, and they weren't. And I think we did things pretty late, and I listened to some stat shows, and there's we should have been responding to the infection rates much sooner and locking down earlier, and we weren't looking at the right data, and therefore it just got out of hand.
And I think you were also one of the countries that was considering herd immunity, but then didn't. Then like a couple of weeks already gone, and that's just it's a lot of time in this. But I know none of us is epidemiologists, so we don't really know. We're just guessing. What is best. There are experts out there that know. Yeah,
and I think that we're also in for the long term. I think that this isn't something that is going to change soon. This is going to stay. And it's going to, I mean, as you probably know, I mean, you travel or used to travel a lot for work. That just isn't happening, and people are just going, well, we can do it all remotely. So, I mean, how is it affecting kind of your work and?
Yeah, it is affecting in that way. So I'm doing just remote work at the moment. So I have one client that I go to once in a while now, but then so they're going on summer holidays, so I'm not going there now. But I had also one client that was, you have to be on site every time, and because that's just how we have to work. But then all of a sudden they realized that you don't have to, and they managed actually to get everyone home. So yeah, I think companies are learning it, and I'm working just remotely now. Before this, I was probably working at least half my time remotely anyway, but now I'm just 100% remotely. It is nice. I love the commute. It's really nice. Just going, standing up and sitting down again. So that's pretty good. But I do miss it a little bit, going and meeting people. I must admit that.
Yeah, I think there's something that kind of I miss. And I do, when I do calls with people, I'll have the video on, even if they don't. And it it keeps me sort of honest. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not that something I would do, clearly. But, I wouldn't be on a call and then be looking at my phone, going, oh, okay. Or kind of somebody... I think I've done it once before, but I was on a call the other day and someone was sharing this, and I've seen it a few times. Someone shares their screen and then you're talking to them and they're showing you something, and then suddenly they then switch to email and then they're doing something else. And you go,
or start browsing something. That's, I was the other day where it was few people on the call, and then the person sharing it completely forgot they're sharing. It was like 10 minutes ago, and then they started browsing some web pages. Yeah. Not perfect, but it happens,
Yeah.
Maybe I was boring.
No, well, you sort of see it and you sort of go, one of the guys I did send a message to, kind of, you're still sharing your screen. But I normally wouldn't. I would just wait and see what happens. Not because I'm evil, but it's just entertaining to see whether they would apologize for it or they'd go, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. Because most people have got two screens, especially if they're working from home. So they are, and this is something that I try not to do, is, so I'm looking at you and you're here, but when I'm on my work computer, I will sometimes, where the camera's in the lid of the surface, I'll move them onto a bigger screen.
And then you're like this,
yeah. And then I'm looking at, so effectively I'd be doing this and talking to you, and I think it's a bit disconcerting. So I try and do that.
So I tried also to have a webcam on my main screen, and then I'll try to look at that. It is also it is polite to do when you want us to look at people, because you want them also to be looking at you, and it gives it a little bit extra. I think it's also people in general, so like I said, I worked maybe half my time remotely before that, but I think now people are getting much better at working remotely. They are having cameras on, and they are actually, trying to make it, a little social and a little more than simply just a screen share and go through the meeting as fast as possible.
Yeah. I think that Zoom did something clever, and I've seen people at work do this, but Zoom do that free 40 minute, and I've seen people, I don't know whether it could just be a German thing, because it seems to be just, it could just be, but they book meetings for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just, and because you don't get that thing of the next meeting starts, you finish at 11, next meeting starts at 12, and the next meeting starts at 1, and then, so I quite like that.
Yeah, you get that 15 minutes to switch context, it's just really nice. Because, I see a lot of the meetings are an hour meeting, and then they're meeting on meeting. There's never a break, really, it's just... What I also saw that in the beginning, I think people, when they were getting used to working remotely, those who hadn't done it, they always booked an hour or half an hour just to maybe check in, or because the companies were telling people make sure you check into each other, make sure everyone is sane and doing good. And so people started, booking like these long meetings for that. It's just like the day went, with some just chats. But then they realized, maybe I can just book 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, or maybe just ping them and.
Yeah, I sometimes just reach out to kind of people that something happens at work. Oh, I haven't spoken to someone in a while. Someone mentioned power analysis services, so I went, oh, I haven't spoken to this other person in a while. I didn't need to ask them a question. I just went, oh, hi, how are you? And it's just kind of, I think we just need to check in and at least have some social contact. It is too easy to just working from home meant before you could hunker down and ignore everything and just focus, but now it doesn't. You can't really do that anymore because
it's equal to so when you're at the office, if someone will come and on your shoulder and ask you a question, people now do that remotely, and they can do it all the time to everyone. But I think, also people need to be better at learning how to, these programs like Teams, how they work, how you can set your status. And, I think people are slowly learning those things that, I want to be left alone. And that's why my status is set, do not disturb. People are learning it, although they are not really, not everyone is going, respecting it.
Yeah. You get the email and you look at it and you get the little pop up and you go, right, okay, I'll deal with that later. And then you get a message on Teams 3 seconds later saying, have you read my email?
Yeah.
I'll deal with you in a minute. Yeah. Because you're breaking into my focus time.
Yeah.
I haven't asked you any stupid questions. I didn't even check in to see whether you had a hard finish.
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. So we won't drag stuff on too long. We'll finish sort of bit round 8, and then when we were in the pre-show bit, you told me that you were a fisherman because we were. Yes. I mentioned that Christina was talking about boats, but you were a fisherman on a shipping boat, on a fishing boat, a proper.
Yes.
That's kind of, and I can only think of like Jaws or trawlers or kind of really big things, tankers. So tell me what kind of boat that was and what that was like.
Yeah, so I come from a fishing village up north in Iceland where it's 1,000 people live there, and most people work on boats or ships. And when I was 18. I was in secondary school, and then the teachers had a strike, and they had a strike for 3 or 4 months. And my dad was a engineer or engineer on a ship, so he managed to get me a space on the ship he was on. It was a shrimp trawler. So the ship is something like 40 meters or something like that long. If you have any and we were 13 in crew or 14 in crew, and we were out at sea for 3 weeks at a time, fishing shrimp, freezing it down on the board, and then we came to harbor, took it off. We had a 4 days leave, and then back out again. So I did that for a few years, and then I did a couple of other types of fishing as well. And I was 6 years. I was a fisherman. It was a lot of fun. It's interesting, because it was those 13, 14 people. They become like a small family and become a small community. And I was lucky that the crew was really good. We were a lot of young people, and we had a lot of fun. And then when you're at in harbor, every day is a weekend. So you had a lot of fun as well, and young people, and So it was paid well as well. So it was fun time.
So do you do that kind of a week or 4 days on shore, 3 days away, and you just do that constantly? Or do you have breaks?
Well, so it was 3 weeks out and then 4 days at home, and then you did that maybe 3 times, and then you had took a 4 weeks break.
Oh, okay, all right.
So it was up to you to do it, but today, if you would be on those trawlers today, you would be forced to have a break. And back then there was nothing like that. Now they normally go 2 months out, 2 months, two trips, and then 1 trip off. But back then, I sometimes did like 1 or 2 trips a year off. Otherwise I was just out fishing. It was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun.
I can imagine. But so, what was it like? I mean, did you do shifts on the boat like you would if you were sailing, like 3-4 hours or 8 hours on and then 8 hours off, or was it just everyone? As soon as you get to the shrimping area, everybody is hands on.
No, it was a 6-hour shift. So it's like you did morning and evenings or day and night. And then you did 6-hour shift, and then you had 6 hours off, and then if you had, for example, if you had morning and evening, you woke up at you had to be at work at 6:30, so you were woken at 6, and then you would eat breakfast, go to work, then at 12:30 you were off, then there was lunch, then to sleep, and then you woke up for dinner. Some people hate that to wake up so it was like maybe a steak for dinner, and you were just like waking after maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep. So it was a rhythm you need to get. Some people liked it, some people hated it. I really liked those 6-hour shifts. I was fine, doing 4 hours and 4 hours. Well, some people need to do their 8 hours or 7 or something in a stretch. So it was those 6-hour shifts we did. If we were fishing, so if we were sailing, sometimes we had to sail for a couple of days to get to the area, and then you do the shifts as well, but it's much more loose because normally you're just fixing the nets or maybe even doing nothing.
Okay.
And I did a whole season as well, so from May to September at Newfoundland as well. So there was outside of Newfoundland there was a shrimping area. We did that as well. That was very interesting, but that took like a whole week to get there.
Yeah. So when you went out there, did you then took a week to get there? Did you then go to shore in Newfoundland?
Yeah. So we fished for 3 weeks and went to shore in Newfoundland and then out again, and then we went home in the autumn again.
Okay, I can imagine that fishing villages or fishing towns get very used to the fact that the fishermen come home and then there might be a bit of, especially the young fishermen, there might be a bit of partying, should we say, after they've been away for so long.
It was weekend every time we came in. Like no matter if you came in on a Monday or a Tuesday, it was it was a weekend in your ice, so it was a lot of partying and a lot of fun, and we were like a small group of guys, so we had a lot of fun together when we came in, even though other people were just doing normal work.
Yeah,
but it's very typically my dad was like I said, an engineer on a ship, and he was almost all his working life he was on a fisherman or on a ship. And it is when you are in that, in a small fishing village, when you are a family man that is out, when you come home, that's, you're, I was because my dad was there. So when you're a kid, your dad comes home and he gets paid when he comes home. And then it's a lot of fun for 3-4 days, right? And then he goes out and then your mom is back, is, keeping the fort back home, and, everything is dull again, So it's not, I don't envy, the fishermen's wives either, taking care of everything at home, and then it's just like, oh, it's fantastic when dad comes home, and he goes, and it's just, oh no.
Yeah, I guess that is the other side of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can.
As a young person, it was a lot of fun.
So, were you from like your family going back many years? Were they all fishermen?
No. My grandparents, they were. One of my grandfather was a fisherman, and the other one was a tax collector. Yes.
Is that
so? It's not like a big fisherman family or anything like that. But my dad started working at sea when he was 14. So he was a cook. Started as a cook.
That's that's a kind of story you get when people are pirates. They get aboard a ship as a cook and then they work their way up.
Yeah, I took a recipe book from my grandmother and went, that's 14-year-old.
All right, okay. So, what would you be eating then on a boat? I guess even back then. I mean, I presume you're going to eat a lot of fish. But now you take it out with
really,
you?
Because, everything was bought, before we came. Sometimes because we were shrimp fishing, you have these, the nets have these, what do you call it, sort of skillets on them. So you want to get the fish out. You don't want to catch the fish as well.
Yeah.
So it's like the special, in the nets, there's there's a metal railing or some sort. So it's where the shrimp goes through, because it's just only like this wide, but the fish goes and it goes out of the nets.
Okay.
So once in a while we put like a bag on there and got some fish to eat, but most of it was just bought. There was beef steaks and whatever. It's just just normal family food normally.
So why did you change? I guess, and not only why did you change, but why did you pick kind of IT?
Yeah, so I was the end of my fishing career. I was on a boat that was line fishing, and line fishing is where no matter how much fish gets in, it's always hard work, because you need to replace hooks and stuff like that. While trawling is just, if there's fish, there's a lot of work. If there's no fish, there's nothing to do. So I was on that, and I was getting very tired of it. It was just a constant work, and not a lot of money in it. And then one morning I woke up and I was just like, now I just have to find something else. And there was this leaflet in the entryway of where I lived, and it said there was this sales and marketing education. 1 year sales and marketing education that and our applications were all you can apply now, and I decided, okay, I'm doing that. So I applied for that. I got in, and it started like a month later or something like that. So I did a 1 year sales and marketing education. Then when I finished that, I started looking for work, and I had been looking for a week or two or something like that when the school called me and said, hey, we noticed that when you were studying here that you were pretty good with computers, and that you were good in helping others. So wanted to offer you a job as a computer teacher. So I just, oh yeah, that sounds fun. So I did spend 2 years there as a teaching Office and Windows, just basic stuff, just working with Windows and working with Office. And during that time, I also did an evening school where I took my MCSE in Windows Server 2000. And I was actually, my plan was to be an administrator. But then I met my wife, and we went to Denmark, and then I decided to educate myself further, go to university. I started as computer engineering. I have always had a lot of interest in computers. So I started computer engineering studies, did a 1 year there, but then they came this people that already had the degree and, job counselors and stuff like that. And then they came and told us what we could do after the education, and then it was mostly just programming. And I was just like, I don't want to just program. I don't want to just get, requirements and do programming and then work myself up after a few years, maybe to do some architecting or designing or something like that. So I found an education in the university in Odense in Denmark, where we lived, which had it was like business and IT together. So it was like a normal business degree, but they took all the courses that you could select yourself and put IT courses instead. And in that education, there was one course on data warehousing and BI, and that just completely blew me away. That was just like, this is what I want to do when I did that one. This in-between person of the business and the IT. There was something where you have all this contact with people, but you're still doing IT. That was something that appealed a lot to me, and I was set there. I wanted to be in business intelligence.
So it might be a rude question. How old were you? So you'd already done your fishing career.
I was 32 when I finished. So it was pretty late, yeah. So because I had been a fisherman and I had been a computer teacher and I've done a lot. So I finished my bachelor at 32. So I was very late bloomer.
No, I mean, if you don't find what you love until you're 32, you've at least found what you've loved, right? That's the key, isn't it? You could have gone your whole life just being a fisherman or a computer teacher?
Yeah, and I think also I'm not sure I would have I would have fallen for it at a younger age, because I needed to figure out these things of course as you go along. So I think it was just good timing for me.
Well, it is. I mean, you never kind of. I mean, I wouldn't have imagined. Oh, maybe I would have. Yeah, no, I would. No. I mean, I think it's quite a joke that I work in SQL, and I've done a lot of SQL, that I failed my SQL module at university. I think that's quite funny. I'm sure other people don't. It was a long time ago. And it was Oracle. Yeah. It was Oracle on HPUX. It didn't count.
But it was also a lot of fun, going to university so late. I had a lot of fun in university, and I loved learning. I thought it was a lot of fun, and a lot of the people I was at university with were like these young people. They weren't sure why they were there, and maybe felt like they were a little wasting their time or didn't want to put the effort in. I just this is what I want to do, and I just really committed to it. And so there are advantages of going later to university.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably
you're on quite a bit of time where you didn't.
No, I think that's probably the right way of doing it, because you've actually worked out what you want to do rather than right. Well. It's right. You come out of school and then you've got your freedom. You're away from home, and most people don't do very well in their first year of university, and lots of universities don't mark. But in the UK, I don't know what it's like in Ireland or Denmark, but they don't mark the first year because they assume you're just there partying and you're just You're just kind of wild and settling down. And then the second and third year are the ones where they expect you to do some work. But, there's also a thing in the UK, which is like, well, it doesn't matter what you get your degree in, because people just care you're educated up to degree. Could be in I've worked in IT with someone who had a marine biology degree and other degrees in archaeology, and someone had a doctorate in radio spectrography.
Okay.
And there was another doctor I worked with who kind of did their doctorate and then was then doing a support. Just because they were just doing education because they didn't know what else to do. But doing it because it's what I'll pick up a book and I'll learn stuff because I want to, rather than because I have to.
That is a little bit the difference, So I enjoyed university, and I was lucky to find something there that I really, really enjoy. And then I just after university, I found a job. It was 2007, so the market was on the rise. So even though it was only on the rise for a short time, because it crashed after that. But I found a job, and I've been working in BI since.
So, where do you spend most of your time then in BI? Do you spend it in the data warehouse or the Power BI?
Well, at the moment, it's mostly in Power BI, and that's just because of the market. But I would say if I go back 2 years ago, it was mostly in the data warehouse analysis services, all the backend stuff. But now Power BI is just everywhere, and everyone wants it, and everyone wants to have it, and they, so I spend a lot of time in that. I do some training as well, but I don't. So I think I was lucky enough that I started using Power Pivot and Power Query in Excel, and then when Power BI came out in 2015, I started working with it straight away. So I've had a little head start on many people in that way. So I've been working with it since it started, so I would say the last couple of years it's been a lot of Power BI.
Yeah. So you're not looking at any of the Synapse stuff? I guess how does that? Okay, so someone who's actually doing some work with customers and stuff. Are you familiar with kind of the announcements, and have you seen the preview?
Yeah, I have. I've fiddled around with it a little bit, but not. So I think where I'm working, so here mostly here in Iceland with Icelandic customers, there has not been any demand there was no demand hardly at all for SQL data warehouse either. And there's just not a lot of Azure demand either.
Not listening. There's always demand.
So I haven't seen a lot of demand. I have taken a look, of course, and I do look at the announcements, but I have not really touched a lot on it. And the Power BI part is really Power BI desktop anyway, so it's not really anything special there.
What you might see is the serverless bit, so SQL on demand. Maybe something that changes and will change in the future into something that may be a bit more than what it currently is, and then it becomes even better. I can see that making a lot of sense because, I don't need a data warehouse. I don't have to pay for that to be there. I can just go refresh every day off the storage, and I can join that storage with some other data source, bring it together, do all the DAX and the M. Sorry, for me it's M, right? It's M and DAX. I haven't touched Power. Honestly, I haven't touched Power BI properly for probably over 2 years. But when I would talk to people, I'd go, it's really 3 products. You've got DAX, you've got M, or Power Query, whatever you want to call it, and you've got the visualization stuff.
Yes.
And some of them there's overlap between the DAX and what I would always get confused is the overlap between the DAX and the M. I could do certain things in one, but not the other. But if I might have to project a column in one to make it appear in the other. And it was it wasn't really, I couldn't do the front end bit, but I liked that bit.
And I think the most confusing thing is that you can actually do the same thing in multiple bits. And then even in the data model part, so the DAX, the data modeling part, the Power Pivot part, you now can do same thing in different views. So you have the model view, and then you have the table view or the data view, and you can do the same things there, but not quite exactly the same. And then you can add a column in Power Query, but you can also do it in DAX. So people, when you're training people, they get so confused. Where should I do it? And it's like, well, depends. And I just started saying, do it where you're comfortable. You're not making big enough models that it will impact anything anyway. You can clearly see it's been created by different teams.
Yeah, well, it seemed to be. So I don't know what it's like now, but you certainly got that impression at the very beginning because they were pulling Power Query and Power Pivot from Excel, and then bringing those engines and it's called the Power Platform now. It's not just and obviously you've got Power, the other thing to automate. It's
Power Apps and Power Automate.
Yeah, is it Power? Yeah, I know the name. I know the name that my company used for products.
Yeah,
but so you can automate even the M parts, and you go, okay, all right. And you sort of go, wait a minute, I could literally do all my data warehousing just in there and never touch a database.
Technically you can. I wouldn't recommend it, but yes, you can. And and one thing I think, so who the hell named it M? That's the worst name for a language you can find. Try Googling M.
Yeah.
DAX at least is a proper name, a data expression language, right? But the M is just, a letter.
Yeah. But does that? I don't know, because I would assume that might go back to all the people that did C and A, because I'm sure there was a B before there was a C, and there's R. M might just be short for model.
Could be.
I don't know, but a letter for a language. That's not built with Google and Bing and Ask Jeeves and Alta Vista in mind, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't.
I mean, there are other products. If you so APS, so because if you've done lots of data warehousing, it was our on-prem MPP. It was called PDW, Parallel Data Warehouse. It's a nice name.
Yeah.
But if you search for APS, you start getting weapons come up. Because there's an APS 3000 or something that's like a semi-automatic, and you're going, okay.
Yeah.
It's choosing names is hard.
Yeah. And then there's you have Azure Data Factory, and you have Azure Data Studio, and all these ADS, ADF, AD. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you start going. There's Azure Analysis Services, and then you've got Azure Synapse Analytics. You start. It's
well, at least those names are actually I know they are pretty clear what they are. They're not clear what they are, but they are very clear if you want to search for them or something like that. But yeah, it is interesting.
So I'm going to ask. I haven't asked you any daft questions yet. Let's. All right. I'm bringing it back. I wanted to get rid of it. Just to be completely honest, I was sick of the question, and Michael Robson's made a rod for my back. But what's your favourite cheese?
Oh, my favourite cheese. I like Italian firm cheeses, or even Dutch ones. Belladonna.
Okay. And I was should have asked you this earlier. What's your favourite episode from season 1?
Of this?
Yeah.
Do we have multiple seasons, or?
This is season 2.
I haven't seen any of the season 1. I have to be absolutely honest with that. I've seen Ilko, and I've seen Benny. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, so you have.
Was that season 1, or is it that?
I mean, there were only like 30 episodes in season 1. I mean, just it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I mean,
sorry.
I'm
hurting your ego.
It's my question to try and make people feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So most interviewers will try and get their interviewees to be comfortable. No. I want you to feel uncomfortable and feel awkward. Okay. Okay. This is the standard question from season 2. So the cheese question was season 1. Everyone got asked that question. And so the question from season 2 is, what's your favourite album?
My favourite album? There would be Achtung Baby with YouTube.
Ooh. I haven't heard that
It was just when it came out. I hadn't really listened to YouTube a lot, so then that came out. It just completely got to me, and I became a massive YouTube fan after that. And then I started listening to the old stuff, so it just got me into that, the YouTube world. So it's probably my favorite album for multiple reasons, really.
There's some really nice songs on that. Like, is it Lemon, which I really liked?
No, that was on the next album.
All right, okay. What was on Acton Baby? Was that The Fly, or was that on Lemon?
Yeah, that was also, I think, on the next one.
What was on Acton?
So there was the Mysterious Ways. That was one of the biggest hits.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. What? Okay. All right. So that wasn't okay, because I was going to say that if you get into YouTube at the Acton Baby and kind of the album that the later albums, going back to like Joshua Tree might be quite hard.
But I didn't find that. I found that so they, of course, Acton Baby was very mainstream pop, and it was, their, really huge breakthrough, even though they had broken through with the other one. But I found it actually really nice and easy to going back to the other ones. You had to listen to them more often, So you had to give it a little bit more effort, the older ones. But I still did really like them, and I didn't find it that hard.
I was trying. What was acting? But sorry, I'm just one, which obviously one's an amazing song. Mm-hmm. The Fly, Mysterious Ways. Let's have a look. Apollo 440 did a remix of one. Okay.
Okay.
That's someone covered that recently. I think it was
Mary J. Blige has a really good cover of it. A few years old. So if you're looking for a cover one, Mary J. Blige does it with U2. Very, very nice.
So what was it's because they started to do some interesting stuff, more experimental.
Yeah, that was the next one after that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's the one I was thinking of. Going from that back to like Joshua Tree, or even what's the one with because they were like a political band.
Yes.
War. That's it. U2 War and Unforgettable Fire. And Rattle and Hum, which is kind of all American, done in America. So was Joshua Tree. I think I've got. I might have Joshua Tree. I've got the Fold Out, one of the Fold Out albums. Okay, that's an interesting choice. Just because I haven't looked or even heard much U2 in the last kind of however long. Just they've gone very quiet.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a lot in the lately, but so I think it's a few years since the last proper album they did. But then they did a tour for 2 or 3 years as well. So it does take a while those tours when you travel the whole world. Yeah,
I was just trying to look at. I think I did have a copy of one because I think I've got it on vinyl because it has the buffalo on it, or two bison. That's what it is, or something. I can't remember. Sorry, it's one of those. So the music question is one of those ones where you'll start me off and then I'll go off on a tangent.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm pretty stuck in my teenage years with music.
I found it hard to move on, so I've still got. I will still put on Sisters of Mercy and New Model Army and the bands and the Levelers and stuff, and I'll listen to the old stuff and maybe not listen to the newer stuff because I'm still stuck in like 1990, somewhere between 1992 and 1998 for my music, which is why those certain U2 albums I'm familiar with. Any other ones I probably haven't listened to. All right, let's get you with a Richard Herring emergency question. Now, all right, let's make sure it's actually on the screen. So this is Richard Herring. He actually had a tour, and he had a show called Talking Cock, which was about celebrating kind of just men's health and in a joking way, but kind of just kind of there are certain issues and stuff that people need to be aware of and kind of, but it partly silly, and people franchised it. And there was a version of it in Iceland.
Okay.
I think
men's health.
Yeah. Well, it would have been done in Icelandic.
Yeah.
So an Icelandic comedian took it and did a version of it, but I think it was Iceland. But they basically just changed it and did it in a very kind of interesting way. I'll see if I can find it and post it up. Sorry. So. He's put this book of emergency questions, and what they are is they're just a standard set of questions to help you out of a problem if you're in a conversation. So there's 1001 in there. If you pick a number between 1 and 1001, we'll see what Richard Herring has to say.
1.
Oh, I don't know if anyone's had one. That's very direct, isn't it? That's like, oh, we might have had this, but you can have it. Right. You've got to suspend belief, and I'll repeat the question, and feel free to ask questions. Would you prefer to have a hand made out of ham, or an armpit that dispensed sun cream? So this is
a hand made out of ham or an armpit that dispenses sun cream.
Yeah, so your hand is made out of ham. You can nibble on it, but it will grow back. But it doesn't hurt if you eat it. Mm-hmm. But it takes a while to grow back.
Okay.
And the sun cream can be of one factor. You can't change the factor. But there's only enough for you and your family. You can't just keep squirting out sun cream and then make a business out of it.
Yeah. I think the sun cream.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Yeah, I just think that it'd be inconvenient with a ham hand. I'm not sure how useful it would be. While the other one actually is quite convenient and discreet.
Yeah, I love the way how seriously you took it. That is one of the famous Richard Herring questions. There's another one about we won't go into the next one because that's not family friendly. There is a downside. So people who do like ham, there is a downside of the ham hand, which is if you were touching paper, it would be a bit greasy. So most people do go for the sun pit, the arm cream.
The other one is convenient if you're stuck in a desert or something. Of course there are.
Yeah, I mean, which it could happen. I mean,
could have. Who knows?
All righty. I don't know. I like this question. What's the best thing about the virus?
The best thing about the virus?
Yeah.
I don't know. There are cause. I wouldn't say there's anything good about the virus, but there might be some positive things that come out of it afterwards. I think the most positive I've seen so far is people's ability to remote work, which has actually been and companies, mostly that companies are accepting it and they're figuring it out. That is probably another great thing personally is that I've been at home a lot, which has actually been quite nice.
And especially with a little one just being born, and I'm sure I could hear. Is a she?
She, yeah.
I'm sure. I thought I could hear her in the background a little while ago.
You did.
So being at home more, especially when your wife is 8-9 months pregnant, that's very convenient.
Yeah, it was very convenient. It's been pretty good. Yeah.
So we didn't cover this, so feel free to tell me to move on if you don't want to answer this. But only because we had our second child at home and we planned for our first at home, but it didn't work. Is home birth and stuff popular in Iceland? Or
yeah, it is. It's quite popular. We didn't do it. We had this one was born at a clinic, small private clinic, which was extremely nice. It was really healthy and everything was going well, so we could give birth there. And there was like the same 2 midwives with us through the whole thing, and not institution thing, and so it was really nice. But home birth, they actually specialize in home birth, those people. So that's why I know that it is actually a thing, and quite a few people do it.
Yeah.
Our main reason for not doing it was you don't have to clean up afterwards.
Well, the midwives did the cleaning up afterwards, actually. Although there was a bonus because we have wooden floors, so it was just a matter of just wiping up the mess and stuff. But we did have for the first, we did have a pool, and we tested it out, and because you got to test it, you can't just because you don't know how long it will take to fill essentially like a small swimming pool in your living room. And then we didn't end up using it because it was just kind of like, it didn't work out for the first one. And we just didn't bother for the second.
My wife used pools in all three. She loved it.
The first one, it didn't quite work out, so it had to be kind of a hospital delivery. But I think we sort of ran out of time, and it was just kind of, and she just went, no, I'm not. And it was quite quick, so there wouldn't have been enough time to even spend however long filling it up.
Yeah, we spent a whole day on the newest one, so there was enough time.
So filling it up is easy. The logistics, emptying it was a nightmare. You don't think about that. I remember reading the instructions and thinking, oh, wait a minute. It's going to be really heavy, isn't it? Oh, all right. You've got to
pump the water out, right?
Yes. And I can't remember even how we did it. I think there was we managed to move it over to the back to patio doors and then open it up, and then it could. But
put out in the garden.
Yeah. And I think our daughters ended up playing in it a few, like literally a couple of years ago. That's how long we had it. So they pumped it up and were sitting in it, and I mean we did use it. We used it as a ball pit. But.
It must be a good pool for kids,
Yeah, I think eventually it got, because it just gets old, and I think it went in the loft and didn't come out very well. Oh, okay. I don't think I've asked anyone this question yet. If you were stuck on a desert island, what one item would you bring with you? A luxury item. But,
I cannot say a boat or something like
that. Yes, you could say a boat, but you wouldn't get any oars or a sail.
So, okay, so not an electric boat filled with air. One item I would bring with me.
Don't worry if it's electrical.
One of these things you can use to make drinking water out of seawater.
Oh, okay.
So, filtering stuff thing,
Well, you've gone really practical rather than like a Kindle or something with lots of books on, or your MP3 player or something.
Yeah, so I'd rather be bored and survive than entertained and die. But maybe I'm just too practical person. I think how can I make this work? This is maybe my inner IT person. We are currently practical often rather than creative.
I don't know. I think that it's I think it says more about you than the career you work in, because you're thinking, right, how do I survive? Maybe that's just years of working on boats and being in difficult situations that's your first. I mean, it seems daft that the first person I ask that question is someone who has spent a lot of time on a boat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what? So I'm going to ask you two more questions. One is, so if you haven't seen the show before, I ask the person I'm talking to nominate someone else for me to talk to. So I think you were nominated by somebody. I can't remember who. I could record that. I didn't record that. So who do you think would enjoy a chat? Might be fun to talk to. Doesn't have to be IT related or compute. Doesn't have to be SQL or data related.
We'll have to figure out who has been on.
We can do that. You can do that afterwards. And as a question right now, because you could send me that afterwards. What's the best thing? Now, all right, I understand you're leaving the country and going to another country, but what's the best thing about Iceland?
I think the best thing about Iceland is the nature. Really, I really do enjoy it, even though I live here. I really enjoy just going out to the nature and seeing the varied landscapes, and we do day trips regularly to see something, and go and walk on mountains and stuff like that.
All right. So can I be cheeky and ask an extra question? Can you pronounce the name of that volcano that erupted a few years ago?
Eyjafjallajökull.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
Eyjafjallajökull. We have we have a little bit harder names, and they're pretty long as well.
So does that actually mean something? Like volcano that does something, or mountain that does?
Well, the last part, Jökull, that's a glacier. So it is actually the mountain is covered by a glacier. And the second part, so Fjalla, that's a mountain. And the first part is actually island. It means an island. So it means like an island mountain glacier.
Okay, right. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
But it's not like the word is just when we say it, we don't think about it as meaning something. It's just a name.
Yeah, but it's just sometimes we all have that in our language. It's just kind of nice to add that because it's so long. You kind of think each bit might mean something else. We you do that in English where you add you have single words and you'll add it together but we don't only when we do that with special words. But
give me a second. I'm just gonna let the cat out.
Have we trapped the cat? Oh, was that the cat making a?
It was meowing.
That's all right. So, well, thank you for your time. I'm gonna kind of let you get back to your kind of your wife, your children, your tiny little baby. And when you think of someone fun to nominate, just ping me a message and let them know. Do a bit of an introduction to save me time and effort because I'm a lazy human being, right? So, thank you, and we're just going to do. We're going to do a showbiz goodbye and say, well, we say goodbye to everyone who's streaming, who's watching. Mm-hmm. And then we talk for 2 minutes afterwards and then say goodbye. I'm kind of breaking that showbiz magic. Because if you watched there was one particular bit in season 1 where I said bye and then they just dropped off the call. And I was still streaming live to everybody. Yeah. So because we didn't do any prep, we didn't prep beforehand.
It's okay.
All right, cool. All right, thanks everyone for watching. All right, see you later.